Thanks, Supreet. I'm Shobha Shukla. I am currently working as a professor at IIT Bombay. So I grew up in a, I would not say small town, in a small city like Lucknow. And I'm the fourth one. I have two elder sisters and one elder brother. And I had a very normal childhood, I would say. It was a growing India where resources were I would not say maximum or minimum. It was adequate resources were available, whatever was sufficient, and in the neighborhood was also very similar to what we were having in our house. And so having two elder brother sisters, like total three, so two sisters and one brother. And my father was account officer in agriculture department. So in those days, Doordarshan used to channel Lucknow. Doordarshan used to channel Krishi Darshan as well. I remember the very few programs used to run in the evening time, and Krishi Darshan was something which my father used to like. Okay, all of you have to sit there in front of TV and watch Krishi Darshan. And we, being small kids, were not really keen on learning more about Krishi Darshan. But he used to tell us, okay, so he's scientist over there, he's director over there, and they are telling about, okay, this is what it is. And he had having a commerce background, but he had a very strong inclination towards education. So he was very firm about that all the girls and boys in the family have to get a very good education, and he was very sure about it, and he pushed towards us. So in those time, when like my sister and we are almost 12 years apart. And in 80s, when she was there, and she was like, no, she has to become a doctor, so she has to be pushed for the science degree, and taking her to all the coaching classes, cycle and all. He put in a lot of trust, my mother and father both. But then towards education, my father was very fussy about it, I would say, that we all have to study hard, and whatever we could do, he, in the limited resources, he has provided ample of opportunities to us. Then when I came into the existence, at least whatever I can remember, I saw my sisters and brothers always dealing with the test tubes, beakers, and talking about science, even the words. So even when like 3 4 years old kid, when they were talking about zoology and botany and this and that, so it was pretty, like, you feel very empowered because no other kid was talking in those terms. So jargon is the, I think, the show off for the kids. That is exactly what I was also going through. It's pretty nostalgic to actually think about all those things and the way we were growing up in those late 80s or early 90s. Then when like I was pretty decent in studies, so it was pretty apt that I would choose maths or bio, something related to science. And then since I was better in maths over bio, so I chose maths and physics, chemistry, that kind of background. And so I would not say that I chose chemistry, rather chemistry has chosen me. So the thing was, I after I had no clue. I come from a very orthodox family. So my family, I'm the first one who has done a science post graduation in my family. And then after that, I went abroad to do PhD, did postdoc, came back to India again. So it was pretty scary because that was the like, first time when I flew outside India, and that was my first flight of the life as well. So I had no clue how what to expect, where is the seat number going to be, how to latch the seat belt, how to fly. And it just happened that that year itself, I'll just deviate a little. So this chemical bomb attack in UK happened, and my flight was through Heathrow. So in the Heathrow itself, there was huge flight lags were going on. My flight was on 13th of August, I still remember. And 9th of August, this chemical bomb attack took place. So I'm talking about 2006. So then the Heathrow, there was huge lag that was there, and I missed the flight, connecting flight. So again, first time flyer, having missed the flight in the UK and had no clue about anything in and around. So we were stranded for 2 days over there, then went to US. Again, I had no clue that if you miss the connecting flight, airline will arrange something. So landed New York, somehow managed something, but luggages, I think two of my luggage was missing. Then took the bus to reach to Buffalo. So there, that was my destination for doing PhD. I did my PhD from SUNY Buffalo. So there, my advisor was very helpful, and research professor Dr. Sahu was there. So he was extremely helpful, arranging everything. He offered, okay, you can stay in my house, arranged everything for me, and it was so nice to feel welcome, and then a cultural shock as well. So it wasn't something which I was used to. People were smiling all the time. People were complimenting on the street. People were saying hello. People were like, I'm not used to this kind of thing. I was looking here and there, and like maybe even turning the face away from them. Is that is the kind of city. Lucknow is a very, I would say, cultural city, but we are not used to of talking to unknown people. So talking to strangers and coming from a smaller city, first time seeing escalators, elevators, and it was a uh, I would say, different kind of experience that I was going through, and all at same time. So that was the kind of journey. But then I got used to of people were very welcoming in US, and they supported me very well. And my PhD advisor was from chemistry department. So even though I was enrolled in the electrical engineering department to do PhD, since my PhD advisor was a chemist, so that is why I say the chemistry chose me rather than I chose the chemistry. But I was intrigued about it. I wanted to know more about the kind of nanomaterials that I was working. I was going to work with, but before actually going for PhD, I worked as a project staff for 2 years at IIT Kanpur, and that was the time when I was working on the laser ablation. And what I made, so I was working mostly on the laser spectroscopy with the Professor Thareja, and during this process of spectroscopy, I saw that something was making the solution, entire solution, little murky. So with that, that was kind of my first introduction to the nanomaterial. Okay, nanomaterial is there, and it can be made using this process. Then I characterized it, and I found this very interesting, and that prompted me to pursue entire research in that direction. And that is how I started applying for my PhD. And when I got into this program where my PhD advisor was working on, so they were looking for a person who can work on the materials chemistry aspect. So that is what I was working on, and he is rather world's among world top 50 scientists, very renowned name in the field of chemistry. So I worked on photonic crystals, solar cells, and metamaterials. In those times, these were like the growing field. And I'm really proud that this year's Nobel Prize in Physics as well as chemistry has gone to the fields where I'm working on. So autosecond lasers, so lasers based system, that is what I really work on, as well as the quantum dots. And that is the thing that I started my entire research work into. So with that, basically, I started working on the PhD program, and so my family at that initially, so they were very hesitant whether I should go abroad or not, because as I mentioned, I'm the first one who had gone out of Lucknow and then out of country as well to do something on my own, entirely on my own. So my mother is still very proud. If you talk about me, she'll not hear anything bad about me at all. So that is the kind of thing that she has for me. And now my father is no more, but I really would say that he is the one who has put in a lot of trust in me and allowed me. I would say, I typically don't like to use the word allowed because it feels like very controlling and very patriarchal. And generally, I don't like to see it, but in maybe today's context. But the kind of time I'm talking about, 20 years back, it was something that he had to allow me to do whatever I wanted to do. So that is the word, not of my choice of in today's age, but yes, that is the kind of background that I come from. And so that is how is I started my PhD degree. And then so during my IIT Kanpur days, I met my husband. So my journey from doing PhD to date, now this plan is actually, I followed my husband's plan. So I had no plan. So what happened was, so I met him, as I mentioned, that I'm the first one who came out and charted this kind of plan. So what happened was, I had no clue how this worked, and what is the prerogative of all the things that are going to come along. So for me, doing PhD was just one of the academic thing. What is the future course of this? I had no clue about. So then I met him and I saw, okay, he is MSc from IIT Kanpur, and then he had gone to CERN for doing a scientist position. He left the position, came back, and then again went back for doing PhD to US. So, but he had very clear plan. I want to do PhD, I want to do postdoc, and then come back to India to do professorship. I was like, I don't know whether I want to do this thing. I know I have to do PhD, and I have after that I have to go for a government job, because that is what my father wanted. That even my mother, in my entire family, government job is the biggest thing. So then, like, okay, maybe I'll go for a government job or any respectful job. That is it. So I was more inclined towards a DRDO job. So for some reason, defense job was something which I really wanted to. So actually, even after my completion of PhD, I wrote to DRDO directors, some of the national labs people, and then I got a very pretty encouraging response from one of the director of the DRDO. He said, okay, whenever you complete your PhD, come back to India, we will hire you. So I was pretty happy. Okay, you find the job, and I'll just go and work in the DRDO. So then he started applying for. Once we completed PhD, he went to UIUC for postdoc. I went to Harvard for postdoc. Eventually, he also came to Harvard for doing postdoc, and started applying for PhD for professorship, and he started getting calls, and he even got call from one of the US universities as well. He got an ultimate faculty position here as well as there. So then he started pushing me also to apply for this kind of job as well, because if we'll get in both in the same institute, that is the best thing. At that time, I was not very much willing to come back to India as well immediately, because I just finished my PhD. It was 6 months into postdoc, and stipend in US is just enough to sustain yourself. It's not at all sufficient to live a luxurious. It looks pretty nice from here. So nowadays, I don't recommend anyone, even with my kids. I do not plan to send them for these kind of very rigorous efforts are required, and the life is fairly difficult. So the like we just had enough money to sustain ourselves, and in the postdoc you start to live independently in a single house, and started to have a decent life. And so I was living next to the Charles River, and university apartment. I started enjoying life, and then he's like, okay, let's go back. And okay, I have already spent 4 years uh, talking about this kind of life that we will enjoy eventually when we'll have money, and then now you're talking to me again, leave this and then go back and start from scratch. But then I thought, okay, let me apply. It take quite a lot of time to get all the jobs and all, and it just happened that the first job that I applied, and I got the so I applied to quite a few places, but IT Bombay was fastest. And it also happened that when I applied, after a couple of months, entire this faculty alumni meeting of IT Bombay took place in Boston, where I was at that time. And I met the director, deputy director, and entire team, and I was so surprised and amazed with the humility. They were like bright, very bright people, very smart people, such accomplished people, and then they were so humble. I was amazed, and I still remember meeting Professor Khakkar, Professor Malik, Professor Pandale, and I was amazed with their humility. And this is the place where I would like to be, where people also are looking forward to hire people who can make a difference, and they themselves were making such a huge difference. So at that point I decided, okay, IIT Bombay is the place where if I'll get the opportunity, I'll come back. And then eventually I got the job. We extended our postdoc a little so that we can have at least 1.5 year of postdoc before coming back to India. So now, 2012, I came back to India, Mumbai. That was the first time I landed in Mumbai. Before that, I had never been to Mumbai. As I mentioned, from Lucknow to Kanpur, that was the first time I came out. And then Delhi was the first time. For the visa appointment, I went to Delhi. That was the first time I went to Delhi, and then directly from Delhi to New York. So that is the kind of journey that I had gone through. Now, in 2012, when I joined back, again at that time, the department, uh, the kind of leadership that it had, and Professor Dusani was head of the department, Professor Suresh was in faculty. I felt very welcome, and I was really proud to be part of this ecosystem that IIT Bombay was creating. And so I got the opportunity to establish my own lab. From the day one, I got my office lab, and I'm also very thankful to my first funding which I got from DST. And it was, the director was Dr. Sanjay Bajpayee, who's not no more, but he, during my first presentation for defending the proposal, it's pretty heartwarming to see people in the DST also supporting young people who are going, who are dreaming big. So basically, I my first project I wrote of I think 4.5 crores, and I was talking about the metamaterials integration into the solar cells, and the entire committee was very supportive, and I got my first multi-crore project in my first 6 months of joining. And it just happened again that out of the blue, director also met me. So that's then again the very good culture of IIT Bombay, that director typically goes to his office by walking, so his office is nearby. So I met him on the road, and he's like, "Oh, Shobha, congratulations." So it was pretty amazing that you meet the people, they remember you, they are appraising you. So it was really nice that I got that kind of boost, and established my lab. Took quite some time, and it is also appropriate to mention here that I was trying to establish my lab in the field of nanophotonics, which is the laser and nano materials based. I was pretty like high energy particle. When you join, you want to do so many things. So I started to work on, because I had prior experience on graphene. So I started to work on the graphene based nanomaterials for water quality monitoring and water remediation. So that is how I started working on the water along with the nanophotonic devices. And my current funding actually is mainly from the water domain. We have developed lots of prototypes, lots of water quality sensing devices, mostly on the heavy metal side. We have a PPB level sensing device of mercury, arsenic, cadmium, and lead. And it's small prototype. We have our own company now, which is dealing with these kind of prototypes where we can sense as well as we can remediate water. So water, like textile dyes removal, or the heavy metal removal, even antibiotic, that is the field in which we are working on. Other than that, when so IIT Bombay holds Tech Fest every year during December. So in that time, when we were showing some of the prototypes that we were making in our lab, so one of the company came and they said the current issue with the zero liquid discharge policy of the government is we don't have indigenous technology for this oil water removal, especially the emulsified oil removal, and that is creating a lot of problem for SMEs. So they are closing down because of this issue. So they gave us this challenge, and we used that opportunity to develop our indigenous water oil separation membrane based system, as well as kind of a graphene foam. We have even made our own skimmer, which I'll definitely pass on the video to uh, Saundarya and Supreet and see if uh, that is of interest to the community. So we have our own skimmer. It's an unmanned skimmer. It's IoT and GPS enabled, so you can leave wherever this oil spillage is taking place, and it can take care of its own. So this is the current the kind of technology that we have developed. Other than that, we are mostly now working on this optical switching. We are working on patterning of two-dimensional and three-dimensional nanomaterials. Mostly, we are working on the bottom-up chemistry. So we are using laser as a tool, and then we are doing the chemistry which is getting governed by the laser itself. So laser will go inside the material, and it will make changes into the material, and we can make three-dimensional nanostructures. And nanostructure, the quality of the nanostructure that we are making, since it's a bottom-up process, we are starting the molecule by molecule or atom by atom building. So it's very fine structure that we are making. You can think of Eiffel Tower, entire Eiffel Tower, in the of the dimensions of few hundred micron by few hundred micron. So, and the surface roughness is going to be nanometer, and that is only possible with the femtosecond laser chemistry, and that is what we are utilizing here for making these kind of two-dimensional or three-dimensional nanostructures. We are not only limited to the polymer, we are making functional structures, active structures. So currently now, having experience with the sensing device that we have developed for the water, and now me having a background of femtosecond laser chemistry, where we can make two-dimensional, three-dimensional nanostructure, we are making functional micro needles, actually rather nano needles. So the tip of the needle is 100 nanometer, and this is we are developing for narcotics detection. So basically, opioid or the fentanyl is a huge problem even in India and abroad as well. And the major issue of the deaths related to these kind of overdoses are not having ability to detect on time. So if within a couple of minutes we are able to detect, then only the antidote, the kind of doses that has to be given to the patient, has to be known. And that is only possible if you know how much the dose the fentanyl or opioid the patient has taken. And currently there is no device that is available in the world, and that is the direction that we are choosing right now. So the healthcare device development, so basically is kind of a micro platform. That is what we are developing. We have already developed the nano needles. We are currently in the process of converting the optical signal to the electrical signal, so that we can basically we want to make it a IoT enabled device. And that is what the healthcare dimension that we are exploring. Water dimension I have already told, and other than that, fabrication is something which we are currently best in the world. We are very proud of this fact that we are supplying samples to the Rutherford lab. So they have tested all the nanostructures or microstructure that has been made all around the world. They have checked its mechanical quality, structural quality, and they have chosen us to supply sample to the all the laser target that they are manufacturing, and that is the direction that also we are pursuing. So I like vaguely remember few things, but I do remember one thing very interesting. When I was growing up, as I mentioned, my sister is 12 years elder to me, and then I had one more. I have one more. Brother is only 2 years elder to me, and then one more sister is there. So my elder sister was doing BSc at that time, and she had to do some of the experiments, which for that she had to stay back in the school for longer time, so she couldn't. So then she brought back home some in those times we used to have, I don't know what to call it, there is a kind of a tray which had wax into it, and you used to have a frog where you stretch the frog and put the legs stretch it and put the pin onto it. So it just happened that it was Durga Puja time only, and my sister had to do this experiment, and she couldn't do it because she had to come back home early for something. So she said ki, Papa, I have to do these experiments and nothing. Oh yeah, sure, why not? And there are lots of frogs in and around here, so we'll get you one. So we were going and for a walk, and then father saw one frog. He because he was in the, for some reason he could arrange even chloroform from somewhere, and he got the frog. He was pretty courageous, I would say. It was pretty big frog that he got it, even though it was put in the chloroform. And as soon as my sister stretched its leg, it jumped out of the tray itself, and we all were running amok. And my mother was so furious. She was like, whatever you have to do, you have to do it on the roof itself. It's not going to come home anything. So that is the kind of thing that was happening in our home. Actually, there was nothing. I think distractions were less, and these kind of things were more around, where your sister, brother, and your father also are party to these kind of things, where the frogs are jumping, even cockroach are coming. And cockroach used to look very ugly, but yeah, my sister used to do all kind of anatomy experiments at home. So that was pretty encouraging. And my sister was pretty nice. She was, I think she was the most talented person in our home. Given I think if the opportunities were more for her, she would have done much better than any of us. But so currently she's working as a principal in a inter college. But that was like the kind of exploration that she had done actually shaped me a lot, because she was doing some of the chemistry experiments, some of the bio experiments at home. And she used to bring lots of these kind of utensils that is related to laboratory experiments home. And in those times, I'm not sure about today's thing, but we used the kids were supposed to carry their own test tubes, beakers to the lab. So it was not provided by school. So she used to carry all those things and even growing crystals from different kinds of thing. And that was pretty encouraging. Even I remember putting potash into the water, and they used to study those how these droplets are moving in a Brownian motion kind of thing in the water. So that was also a very interesting aspect of growing up, including the wire testing during the Pauli time. The values, I would say it's not given in terms of saying these are the things that you have to do. It was more of a showing the way you have to live the life, and showing the way you have to sustain the environment or help in sustaining the environment. So for everything, it was never a preaching, was never part of our growing up. It was more of a you have, they were showing the way it has to be done. We used to have, when I was very small, I remember having a cow at home. And so this cow, the kid, they were part of a family. And it used to be a pretty aggressive cow, but for some reason, for others mostly, the cow used to go after the lambretta that the neighbor was having. I don't know if you remember, the lambretta used to make a lot of noise. And these animals, they don't like these kind of abnormal noises which are not a part of nature. And this cow used to chase that our neighbor out of the colony all the time. But neither the neighbor complained to us, nor my father addressed these things. So it was more like, okay, this is how you have to live in. And respecting elders, respecting boundaries, and showing respect to the elders. Our family, my father had a very big family. There are four brothers and three sisters. And everybody used to come because Lucknow, my father and mother both are originally from Raebareli. So extended family used to come home quite often, and typically odd hours. And never complain. I have never heard anyone complaining about it. At 12 o'clock also, mummy used to get up and make puris because Fufaji has come. Or like, this is the kind of thing that I have seen, that you have to be accommodative. You don't have to put your needs above anybody else's needs, or anybody else's priorities. So it is something where the coexistence was something which was part of our growing up. That you have to be accommodative, you have to share the resources, you have to make sure that whatever elders are saying, you have to, if you want to say something, first of all, you don't have to argue. If you really want to say something, take a break. And still you cannot hold yourself, then only you have to open your mouth and bring your views also respectfully. So that is something which I always felt is the right thing to do. Even I tell to my students now also, if you are disagreeing to someone, and especially if you have very strong views, don't express those views then and there. Take 1 day break or 2 days break. And then still you feel it is you still have those kind of strong views, then only confront someone. Otherwise, most of these things are mostly your self ego or something is involved, and you are misinterpreting few things. So if you will put this out of context, it will be not something which you would be needing to discuss about. So those kind of very normal kind of I would say upbringing helped me become a person where I would not I would not say that I don't confront. I do confront, but it allows me to take a step back and try to understand the other's point of view as well. People who inspired me over the years are like, other than my family members, my teachers were very much inspiring. Then when I joined IIT Kanpur, I met many people. So first and foremost is definitely my husband, who has shown me the path of like how to like tread the path of academia. And later I met many great people, including Professor Anita Mahadevan, who is SPIE president. I happened to meet Professor Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam when I was at Harvard University. It just happened that I was having lunch over there, and he was passing by, and then He just stopped and talked to me for 15-20 minutes, and we were amazed. I and my husband both were just having lunch over there. The kind of humility that he was having, and he's such an accomplished person but such a humble person. Other than these two, I have met many great people who have been very influential in my journey to academia, and now students are also somebody who kept on changing my views to the world. I had many lows and highs in my life, and the most difficult phase that I would say was when I joined PhD. In the first semester of my PhD, as I mentioned earlier, it was a great cultural shock for me. I coming from a small city, and suddenly I'm in a mega city in US, and not having known the kind of the culture, work culture, and the professional ethics that was required over there. And I had to balance many things, personally as well as professionally. So I did not, I was, as per my uh, information, I was doing okay, but was not up to the expectation of my boss. And in the first semester itself, my boss called me one day after a couple of months later in my PhD, and he told me, "Okay, you have 1 month, find another advisor." And that was really shocking for me, because I was doing 4 courses, I was doing research, I was trying to balance my whatever the with the salary, whatever I could do well in that kind of atmosphere. And that was really something that bothered me. That was the lowest point in my life, I would say. One of the lowest point. I had couple of other point, but that is something which bothered me too much, because I'm not a quitter, and I really wanted to work with him. So I put in more than 100% of whatever I could do, and I happened ultimately I overcome all these obstacles. And my boss also realized the kind of the work culture that I was having, or what I was trained to, and then I had to change to the kind of work culture that was required for the US PhD. And so I toiled a lot, and ultimately I happened to finish my PhD within 3.5 years. And I got like many first author papers in that PhD itself. So it just happened in that moment. It was very difficult for me, and I really say that was one of the most difficult thing that I had gone through. Other than that, there were many things that I was so personal side. When I was about to have my daughter, my father passed away. That was the most difficult time that I can think of, because I am very much influenced by my father, his way of thinking, his way of dealing things, and I always find it uh, a very balanced approach. And that is something which I feel that. I'm really scared now. I don't want to lose my near and dear ones, and nobody else wants to. But this is something which I feel that has kept me actually more emotionally attached to the people who are around me, and as well as grounded to me towards the students as well, because students go through many things, and if I have not gone through it, I would not really understand. So putting yourself in their shoes, that is the kind of approach that one gets if they have gone through multiple things on their own as well. I would not say that I face discrimination because of my gender, but I do see there is a lot of bias that exists for females, especially in the leadership roles. Discrimination wise, I would say rather, if there are people who can discriminate or who want to discriminate, there are many more people who wants to support, irrespective of it's a male, female, or any other gender that is there. So there are many people who want to support and want to make you succeed. So focus on those people, and that is what I have always been doing. People who have been supporting me, I have been reaching out to them. I have been seeking out help or suggestions from them, guidance from them. And biases are only thing that keep on changing if there are enough people who can show the path, or who will prove themselves, and will keep on proving themselves. I happen to meet many successful females. They are very powerful, very straightforward, and I have learned from them as well that not always confronting is the option. You can always deal with these biases in a very polite and very assertive manner as well. So discrimination is something which is a kind of a hidden thing. Biases are more apparent, and that has to be addressed, and that will be addressed only with the positive approach. That is what I believe in. Success is something which I believe that would come to anyone if they really want, they believe in themselves. For me, success is finding a right balance between the personal life and professional life. So both are very dear to me. So I would not say that it is something which will be very having achieved a great professional success is something which is important. So for me, if I have a very loving family with me who are there to cheer for me all the time, and I have a decent career, students who are happy with me, that is the definition of success for me. The overall success, if I want to define that, I believe the success for me would be that if someone somewhere sees the kind of journey that I have gone through, and takes lessons from them or takes inspiration from it, I would say that is the best thing that I have lived my life, and that is how I would define the overall success of my life would be. My personal happiness is definitely lies in the success of both the part of my life. So, other than supporting female students in my group to address the issues of getting more women into the sciences, always wanted to give back to the society directly. We, as a scientist, we always give back to the society indirectly and through technology. But there was something which I really wanted to directly contribute towards the society, and for that, actually, when I joined back to IIT Bombay, I having a materials chemistry background, I decided that I had already worked on graphene, so I used graphene for water remediation, which was a proven thing. There were only few people who were working on that at that time. The issue with the graphene was it was expensive, and in that domain, I worked. So I we were very successful in getting graphene and other carbon parts from the agro waste material, which is abundant in India, and using it for water remediation, and very inexpensive approach. It's almost like 1 rupee per liter, that is, or even less than that, the cost of the water would come to. And it works beautifully. And then we realize that water remediation is something which has to take place, but there are many technologies that are available, but water contamination has not been tested. And in India, there is a very famous proverb that kos kos par badle pani and char kos par bani. So that is, the water quality keeps on changing every mile or every kilometer or so. So there has to be some technology that should be able to check the water quality all the time, and we don't need to rely on a single technology for water remediation. Because if you'll go to north or east part, it's mostly the arsenic or fluoride issues are there, or sometimes even iron. If you go to other part of India, there are different types of contaminations are there, so only we need to remove those contaminants and not all the minerals of the water, which has led to, because we have been removing all the minerals, and RO has become a kind of technology which everybody is using, and very harmful for the human body. So for that perspective also, we have been working extensively, and we have developed a prototype which is highly inexpensive and very accurate. So PPB level kind of a sensing can be done in a small device where the cartridge cost is only 300 rupees, whereas a single heavy metal testing in a standard lab cost more than 5,000 rupees, single heavy metal. So that kind of thing we could manage here. So this water quality sensing remediation, and also happened that industry was also having issues, because many MSMEs were shutting down because of the zero liquid discharge policy that has been implemented. So the industry came with a problem statement that they wanted to remove the PPB level, or rather PPM level, of the oil from the water, so emulsified oil. And currently the technology was more of a the chemical oriented, which again creates a secondary pollutant. So in order to address that issue, we have developed a graphene based foam which can remove the oil, not only just a skimming of the oil. We have developed the oil skimmer for addressing the oil spillage issue, but also we have developed oil graphene based foam system for addressing the emulsified oil removal as well. So, and other than these kind of remediation and sensing, because any technology that you will be using ultimately will create some sort of secondary pollutant. So we have to reduce secondary pollutant. For that purpose, we have also developed microsensor for heavy metal testing. Having developed microsensor reducing overall secondary pollutant, we have also gone ahead and made the solution completely circular by developing some of those the microbacterial or the bacterial kind of platform which we incorporated into our graphene foam system, so that the oil that will be trapped, and if it will not be recovered eventually or the foam is now degrading, so oil can not only eat the bacteria will not be only able to eat the oil but also the foam, and that's how the entire system will be self-destruct itself. So that's the kind of a circular solution that we are working towards. So lesson that I have learned over the kind of personal and professional life that I have already spent is that one has to believe in themselves, and it's not that everything is easy or come to your way, but whatever path that you choose to, you give yours the best that you can give to more than 100% if possible. And message is definitely it's along the same line that females are not the lesser one, or it's they're not the less important human being on the earth. It's just you have to believe in yourself and you can do anything that you put your mind to. I love my job. I love my life, and I'm really thankful that I'm in IIT system in the intellectual world. The kind of discussions that one can have here, and the kind of life that the infrastructure and the ecosystem that IIT provides me. So I don't really need a motivation. It's just I'm in love with the kind of a system that I am in. So this is kind of a dream come true for me. So I just feel like I'm meant for these kind of a system where I can thrive in this system only. So very much, I don't need any kind of push to come to office. For me, it's life in office and life in at home. I bring my home life to office and office life to home. I interact a lot with my students, and I celebrate all my festivals along with the students. So they come home when they are in the campus, or if I'm like I go out, and whenever I have to have fun, I take my entire lab to outside. And this is the kind of thing that, so I believe for anyone, if they are not in love with their with the kind of professional thing that they are doing, they might need some kind of a push. But if you are having fun in your job, you don't need any kind of a push to come to the workplace. For self care, I typically walk. Walking is something which is very near and dear to me. I like to talk to myself. It just refreshes my mind. Other than that, I travel. So I like traveling to various places. I'm slightly spiritual person, or and I believe in the Hindu philosophy of traveling for the sake of. Uh, healing yourself, and that is what I really like to. Other than that, I have fun with my students, and I take them outside, so I really enjoy. So they are part of my extended family, and I like to spend time with them, and that heals me like anything. So not only I spend time with my family, the close, the like my son and daughter and husband, but also with my students, and that heals me instantly. All will be well. That is the message that I would like to give to young Shobha, because as I mentioned earlier, that I was really scared that I'll be married off and I'll not be able to see the professional success up to the extent that I want to. I did not want a very small job which is available next to my house. I really wanted to do well, and I wanted to be my own on my own, independent financially as well as from all other aspects as well. So, but well, while growing up, typically you are scared. You don't know how many uh, paths will lead you to the success, or what kind of hindrances will come, whether this thing will ultimately pan out well. So I was well, while growing up I was very scared. So if I will meet young Shobha, I would tell her that you just keep on believing yourself, keep on giving your best, and all will be well eventually. So my magic mantra or life mantra is my mom and my siblings. I really very strongly believe that any problem that I have, and if I talk to them, if I tell to my mom, okay, this is the kind of problem that I'm going through, I'm really not sure what will happen, and suddenly it will evaporate. So the problem will go away eventually, and not maybe not immediately, but eventually everything will turn out to be fine. So she is not only my stress buster. Sometimes maybe she would not understand, but she will never show that I don't understand. She will say, yes, I understand, I know what you are going through. Then she will tell me some anecdotes. Okay, maybe Papa has gone through this, or I have done that, or she has done that. So she will give me some messages, and it really helps me in going through all the kind of dark phases that I have been through. So I do not have any kind of a specific mantra or a specific thing, that message that I go through. But I read lots of biographies, and that has given me an insight that not I have not found a single great person who has not seen lows and extreme lows in life, and that's what made them very successful or very accomplished persons. So I keep on reading those biographies of different people. That has helped me a lot. And spirituality is something which also helps me in uh, like keeping sane all the time. So that is what I have always been following. And so whenever it comes to the lows or highs or messages, that is what I follow. So autobiographies are something which I always tell others also to read, in case if they want to know what kind of life a successful person uh, has been through. Because everybody talks about the success, and but even when they talk about the lowest, they talk about something which is extremely low. But the life is a sinusoidal curve, so there are many lows, many highs, and the small things matters to human life more, and that is what has happened with me as well. And that is what happens with others. So relating to having ability to relate to them is something which is uh, I think very important. Other than that, when I feel really happy, I really relate to the song that is in the movie, that आजकल पाँव जमी पर पड़ते नहीं मेरे. And especially the second line, देखा है कभी तुमने मुझे उड़ते हुए. Literal, I feel like I'm flying when I'm doing well or something really good happens to me. My ultimate goal in life would be that if somebody can take inspiration from my journey, whatever I have gone through, I would not say I would be having ability to write everything or tell everything, but I just keep on telling to people that failure is part of life, and if you are not failing, that means you are not trying enough. So if somebody would like to look at my life and say something, I would say look at all my failures only. And successes are somebody's individual only, but failures are mostly somebody. I think it's easy to relate to, because there are actually hundreds of failure and only couple of successes that everybody gets.